Hey everybody, how's it going? Today is finally the day that I'm going to show you my new bike, my new St. Piran team bike for 2021. It is my Lapierre Aircode DRS 7.0. Now that is a bit of a mouthful. I'm going to show you the whole bike, some close-ups, some beautiful shots, show you a few changes that I've made to the bike since I originally took these shots, tell you what I'm going to be doing with the bike, and then in another video we'll go for a ride on it. Before we get going with a really detailed look at the bike, there are a couple of things which I think are really important to point out. That is, number one, Lapierre and St. Piran are now officially a partner. So Lapierre are an official partner of the St. Piran women's team and also the St. Piran UCI Continental team, which is huge news. That's Lapierre UK and St. Piran working together, moving forwards. So you'll see lots of the other riders on these bikes over the next next time that I see them, you'll be able to see them on the bike. In fact, on that first training camp video that I did back in March, we had to cut a few clips of riders on beautiful Lapierre bikes. There was a red one for Joe Evans, and I think Ross was on one as well, Matt Ellis as well. Had to do my best to avoid filming those too much because the announcement hadn't been made at that point. But going forwards, you'll see a lot more of them. Now, the second training camp has already happened, and I did film some footage on that. However, that was when my camera started to break. There's a period in the middle of the video where the plug-in microphone started to become disconnected, and that was the USB-C port which started to fail, which meant that it was still trying to function. However, it was collecting no audio, which means we just have a video of lots of people looking like they're miming. Anyway, onto the bike. First off, let's start with the color. Wow. I'll show you a picture of the brochure because that looks quite different, I think, to how this bike actually looks in real life. In the brochure, it looks like a flat green, whereas in real life, you can see green, you can see blue, purples, the silver comes out really, really well. And it's constantly changing. I suppose it's like a pearlescent type of paint job with all the metal flakes in there as well. And it's just stunning. You can watch the light move around on it. And I think personally, it's probably the funkiest paint job I've ever had on a bike and probably my absolute favorite as well, just because it stands out. They all have that sort of finish to them. There's the white version as well and a red version, and they all have that sort of changeable color, but nothing quite like this one, so quite lucky there. Okay, moving on. Normally I have two of these, however, I currently have one on my mountain bike because there are mountain bike races happening and I quite like the ultralight Meikes Carbon Elite bolt kit. Okay, so the bike in the slow clips is almost completely standard. That's with the 172.5 Ultegra cranks, which are a 3652 compact chain set. You can see that I've put my Rotor Aldhu cranks on here. That's because not only is it a power meter, the Inspider power meter, it also has the 5339, which I like using. So my bike, the size medium, is equivalent to a 54 centimeter frame normally, 54.5 perhaps, as it does come up a little bit bigger than normal. However, in most other companies, I run either a size small or a standard 54 centimeter frame. This one comes as standard with a 100mm stem. I would like to upgrade that, or not upgrade it, just to lengthen that to 120mm. The bars are 42 centimeters from center to center, which is my size. I quite like that. They're also slightly flared. And you'll notice on top of the bars, there are 4 rubber bungs now. That's because the bike comes in the box with a set of clip-on aero bars, so popular for triathletes or riding your local club time trials. I think that's a really cool little feature. The Di2 junction box is in the end of the bar end, which is also nice and sleek. I've never had that before. I mentioned Di2, Shimano Ultegra Di2 complete group set, so that's the discs, 160 in the front, 140 in the back. The saddle. Probably the best accolade you can give to a saddle is that you're just not really aware that it's there. This is the Sony Italia Flight Boost L3, 145mm wide. It's another mouthful. It's quite a light saddle, but above all else, it's just mega comfortable. You just don't really know that it's there. You can see that it's quite dirty. That's because I've borrowed it to put on my mountain bike recently. GP5000 tubeless ready tyres I mentioned a second ago, completely standard on this bike. I have now set the front one up tubeless because I pinched the tube when I was putting the tyre on. So this is the aero offering from Lapierre, and this is the Aircode DRS, which I mentioned before. This is number 7 in the range. That just means where this bike comes in Lapierre's range. The team also have access to the eZesty currently. I know that Matt Ellis is one of those, and I'm fairly certain someone else does as well, but there are so many of the riders right now, I completely managed to forget who has which bike. Also loads of different colours. Now the one thing that really strikes me on this bike instantly is just how sleek and integrated everything is. I've never had a bike that was so thoroughly integrated before, certainly not a team bike. No cables, no wires anywhere, and that's a complete first for me. The other thing that I really like is that I can attach my GoPro right on the front of the bars via the inbuilt GoPro mount on the stem, which I think is just a cool little feature. That's the 360 camera that works really well, I think. Stop. I touched on the integration a second ago, but the other thing that I really noticed, aside from the colour and the integration then, is just the shapes of the tubes. You can see around the back, just the way that the bike has been designed to release the air around the back of the seat tube, also to try and increase the comfort around that sort of area on the bike. The shapes around the head tube, the down tube, everything's just designed, everything looks really well thought out, and I think that's the big difference from this year's bike and last year's bike. One little design quirk that I have picked up on though is the through axles. So it has through axles, obviously they're threaded on one side, but on the side where you would plug the Allen key in to tighten it or to release it, the dropout doesn't complete. And what I mean by that, and I'll show you in a second, is there's a little gap, and that gap looks like it should be designed for the through axle to slip down through. So you'd unscrew it from the threads and then just drop it out of the bike rather than pulling the through axle all the way out of the wheel. However, the through axles that come in the bike as standard, their diameter is ever so slightly bigger than the diameter of the gap in the bottom of the dropout, meaning that that doesn't quite work. So you'd have to have a tapered through axle. That's my understanding, but anyway, I'm fairly certain that Mavic do something. Perhaps the bike is designed to go with Mavic wheels. It's by no means a deal breaker of the bike. However, I did think it was quite interesting that it is designed in that way. Further research needed, I would say. DRS stands for Drag Reduction System, and Lapierre quotes the weight as 8.5 kilos, which sounds heavy, but I'll be really honest with you, I suspect it's a little bit lighter. I haven't actually weighed it myself, but it doesn't feel as heavy as 8.5 kilos sounds. Either way, it's an aero bike. Aero bikes are heavier. And this bike can boast that it's now the holder of my fastest ever 10-mile road bike time trial. I recently took part in the Aero Coach Road Bike National Time Trial Championship up in Evesham. Tried to challenge Yanto, who put 22 seconds into me, which is a bit of a shame. However, it was my fastest time, 21 minutes and 3 seconds on this bike. So that's a good 50-something seconds faster than I've ever done a 10-mile road bike time trial in the past. It hurt. I didn't have a Powermeter on, so I can't tell you any numbers like that. If I'm being really honest, it was possibly a faster circuit than I've ever actually ridden on a road bike in a 10-mile time trial before. However, it still is now the holder of my own personal 10-mile record, which I think is quite something. I don't know when I'm going to be racing it next, is the honest answer. I'm quite focused on the mountain bikes at the moment, and here in the UK we still don't really have much of an update for the road racing scene, so I can't guarantee a first road race date for it. However, I am looking forward to getting out and enjoying some sunny rides. I've spent more than long enough talking about the bike. I want to know what you think about it. I want to know what you think of the colours, the shape, the design. Drop it down in the comments beneath. I'm going to leave you with that. The next time you see this bike, I'll be out on the road, hopefully, actually riding it and enjoying it. Other than that, hope you're all staying safe and well. I'll see you again next time.